Hello, my name is Mark Hufford. I'm with My Attorney Podcast, and today I'm with attorney Ricardo Alvarez. Nice to be with you today.
Nice to see you, Mark.
So, what's the story about how you decided to become a lawyer?
So I worked many years as a journalist, and in that kind of field, you always have a boss. Um, there's always someone who owns the television station or has all the toys, all the cameras, all the studio equipment. So there's always a boss, and that's something that I didn't really appreciate. I didn't like not being my own boss. So I thought that the best way to do that was to become an attorney, just being my own boss, setting up my own firm.
So, how did you decide to set up your law firm in Lake?
So I have family in Orlando, and when I finished law school, I applied to several state attorneys' offices, and the first one to call me immediately. I sent my resume out, and I think 2-3 days later, they called me from Bartow, the office of Jerry Hill. They called me and they offered me a position as a state attorney. I came down for an interview, and immediately offered me a job. And you know, I didn't wait for anybody else to ask me. It was the first place that they asked me. I drove around the area, loved it. Looked quiet, looked nice, looked clean, looked like the kind of place that you want to raise a family, and that's what we're in the process of doing. So that's how I ended up in Polk County. I ended up in Lakeland, and it's been wonderful.
So, see that your office is in Lakeland. Do you serve outside of Lakeland?
Yeah, so we serve Polk County, we serve Hillsborough County, we serve Osceola County, we serve Highlands and Hardy County, and most of Central Florida. We try not to go too far away, but just stay around Central Florida. But those are the counties that we mainly serve.
Are there very many differences in practicing law in the different counties?
So different counties have different, and I would say different circuits have different forms of practicing criminal law, or depending on who's the state attorney for the circuit. So Polk County is the 10th Circuit and has Hardy and Highlands. So it's the same state attorney, and he or she sets the tone as to how they handle criminal cases, and that makes a difference as to what programs they have. Like, for example, if you have a DUI in Hillsborough, they have a program there that's called Rider, and you can do a diversion program on a DUI. Or in Osceola, you can do a diversion program, but Polk County, the 10th Circuit, doesn't have a diversion program. So there are differences, there are nuances, and people who don't practice in the area don't know them. So many times that people who are not from around the area come and practice here. They don't know that there's a program that could get their clients off, their cases dismissed. They end up pleading to a charge, and I see them, and I wonder, why don't they ask around, or why didn't they hire someone local so that they wouldn't get, the worst possible outcome to their case. So it's important to hire, if you're going to hire an attorney that lives or practices in the area where your case is. That's important.
So, other than DUI, what are some other common crimes that you find in this area?
There are drug charges are common. It's just for some reason, people who are doing drugs tend to do stuff that gets them caught. They tend to do reckless things. So it's not that there's a lot of drug usage, which there might be, but it's just when people are under the influence of drugs, they tend to do dumb things that get them in contact with law enforcement, and then they get arrested for those charges. So there's a lot of drug charges. It runs the gamut from just simple possession to trafficking amount. So there's a lot of drug cases here in this circuit.
So, when an attorney has practiced for a long time, how do they keep their representation fresh and not fall into like a cookie cutter mold?
Yeah, so you have to keep up with, and the Florida Bar asks you to keep up to date with your practice area. So you have to do CLEs to keep fresh, but also you have, the way you keep your practice fresh is by um, doing a lot of motion practice, a lot of trial. That way, what's going on with the particular area of the law that you're trying to get the judge to agree with you on. So that's how you. But mainly, you by picking up different types of cases, you stay fresh, you stay current with the law.
If someone's pulled over by law enforcement, what are some of the do's and don'ts so that you don't make a mistake and accidentally get arrested when they probably wouldn't have in the first place?
So I think being polite goes a long way. But also, the most important thing you need to remind yourself to not do is to talk. You have the right to remain silent, and most people don't take advantage of that right. You're not going to offend the law enforcement officer by saying, I don't want to speak without a lawyer. You might offend them, but that's their problem if they get offended. They know that you have constitutional rights, and they have to respect those. The worst thing you can do is try to talk yourself, try to talk the law enforcement officer out of giving you a charge or getting you a charge. Everything you say is being absorbed by that law enforcement officer or maybe even recorded, and they're going to use it against you. Okay, so when you say, well, yeah, I did this, but it's game over. You're admitting to the charge, and you're going to get arrested anyway. So just remain silent. You don't have to give testimony, to get yourself arrested. Just remain silent. Say, I want my lawyer. I need to talk to my lawyer. I'll be glad to talk to you, officer, but when my lawyer's here, and just remain silent. Just don't talk. I mean, it's not. That's not the recommendation for any traffic ticket. Although you could use it too. When the officer says, "Well, you know how fast you were going," just say, I don't have to answer that, and that's it. You understand? Don't. But for if you think that you're being questioned because they're going to possibly charge you, just remain silent and say that you want your lawyer.
One of the most misconceived things is Miranda. So could you kind of explain when Miranda rights apply and when they don't?
So you have to be read Miranda, and a lot of people come to my office and say, "Well, the charge has to go away because they never read me Miranda," and that's a big misconception. It's just television. They've seen it over and over, and they believe that if you're not read your rights, that the case against you has to go away. You have to be read Miranda if you're under custody, and they're going to. When I say they, law enforcement is going to question you. You have to be read your rights. You have to be made aware of your rights. Otherwise, they don't have to read your Miranda. If they can say it's a consensual encounter and they're just casually asking you questions and you're free to leave. That's why they always say, well, you're free to leave. You're free to leave. When they say that is like a hint, a complete hint that they're trying to get information to get you to say something that is going to get you to not leave, and they're going to arrest you. So, but they don't have to read Miranda to you if you're free to leave. So if there's somebody, law enforcement starts asking you questions, just say, am I free to, am I detained? Am I under arrest? Can I leave? And if you can leave, leave. All right, because you don't have to answer any questions. A lot of people feel compelled, again, compelled to justify themselves or compelled to submit to law enforcement. You don't have to. You have rights, so don't do it.
So if someone needs to get a hold of an attorney in this area, how do they contact you?
Well, they can call our office, 863-709-0808, or they can go to our website, ricardoalvarezlaw.com. They can Google us. They can there's a form there that they can contact us through there. So a million ways to contact us. If you need help, and you're being questioned, or somebody is in trouble, just call our office, email us, and we're here for you.
Well, it was a pleasure to spend time with you today. I appreciate you talking to us today.
Thank you, Mark. Have a great day.
You too.